Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you've never seen me before, then hi, welcome. So today I'm going to do the video that I've been waiting to do since January, actually, since the beginning of this year, and I'm so excited. So if you haven't already read the title, today I'm going to be tier ranking all the books that I read this year. I read 45 books this year. My reading goal was 50. I'm filming this video right now like 3 days before it's actually 2024. I know I'm not going to read any book because like the next few days are going to be busy. We have like a New Year's Eve party. Yeah, I think the last book I read was the last book that I read for 2023. And so I also knew I wasn't going to complete my reading goal. At first, I felt a little bit disappointed, but then I was like, why should I? Why should I feel disappointed or like feel bad? Because reading goals, at least for me, I set it for fun to see if I could complete it. But I'm not gonna like let it stress me out, or I'm not gonna worry about it too much if I didn't complete it. I got pretty close, and honestly, I'm like really proud of how many books I read this year, and that's enough for me. This time of the year, also for like the book community, I feel like a lot of people are gonna be posting these tier ranking videos of all the books they read this year, and so I just want to say, like, don't feel guilty or like pressured or bad if you see someone else and you know their like reading goal for the year was like 100 or like even 200 and they completed it. It doesn't make you any less of a reader if you only read 10 books this year. If you only read one, it still makes you a reader. You still read one book this year, and that's enough. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there, and like numbers really don't matter to me. This is just for fun. Also, yes, I'm wearing a Christmas sweater. Yes, I'm aware Christmas is already over, but you know what, for me it isn't, because I actually celebrate Christmas like up until January. As Miss Taylor Swift said, we can leave the Christmas lights up till January. Last thing before we get into the tier ranking, I just wanted to kind of mention my year in books, kind of do a little recap, both from Goodreads and from this website called myacolladopr.com if you want to check it out. In Goodreads, it says that I read 15,583 pages in total this year. I know many people may have like a lot more, but again, for me, like that's insane, and I'm really proud of myself. So that's like just crazy seeing it here. And like I said, I read 45 books this year, and here on Goodreads it tells you the shortest and longest book you read. The shortest book I read was 192 pages, and it was The Ohana Cottage by Megan Rankin. And then the longest book I read, I actually thought it was going to be The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but actually there's a book that surpasses that, and that's By a Thread by Lucy Score, which has 584 pages. And then the average book length in 2023 is 346 pages. It also tells me like the most shelved book that I read and the least shelved. So apparently the most shelved book that I read, 10,742,710 people also shelved this book, and that was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And then the least shelved book, only 1,081 people shelved this book, and that is Autumn Sky by Jenna Starley. Okay, this also tells me like my average rating for 2023. That's interesting. It's 3.8 stars. I thought like I rated a lot of books this year like 5 stars, but if my average rating is 3.8, maybe not a lot. I feel like by that rating I could say I had a good reading year. And it also tells me the highest rated book that I read on Goodreads, and that was The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. And that's it. And I'm gonna go to the website, My Year in Books. It tells basically the same thing, but I just want to read some extra stuff on here. So this also tells me like the total minutes I read this year, and that was 26,491 minutes. And then this tells me like my top genres and categories. I'm gonna read that. It says here on the website, you fell head over heels for romance with 33 books read. You read 29 contemporary novels, all set in today's world with today's many challenges. And then finally it says, adolescence is a challenging time, and you welcome that complexity through reading 20 young adult books. And then it also tells me my top author of this year, which actually I was surprised was Suzanne Collins. I read for the first time this year, yes, I know, the Hunger Games trilogy, and so then I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before the movie came out. And it also tells me my biggest reading month, which was December, with 7 books in total. It tells me like one way to describe my taste in books this year, and it says here it's hopelessly romantic. I kind of expected that, and I like it. I love it. That's me. and I have no shame. I am a hopeless romantic, and that's okay. Anyways, as always, I'm first gonna be like explaining my tiers. The first tier is we'll be thinking about it till the day I die. So obviously these are like my 5-star reads of the year, but honestly, like the books in this tier may also just be like my favorite books in general, and that like became my favorite books ever. I will be thinking about them till the day I die. Those characters will be in the back of my mind 24/7. Second tier is giggling and kicking my feet. So these are probably like my 4-star reads. I still love them. I would 100% recommend them, but they're not exactly 5-star reads. You know, they're not exactly like my top books of this year. Third tier is not my fave, but would still recommend. So I think of this tier as like the mid tier and also like my 3-star reads. You know, these are books that like maybe I don't love them, but I don't hate them either. I like them and I would still probably like recommend them. And the tier below that says I forgot I read this. So you could say these are like my 2-star reads, but just maybe books that I still don't necessarily hate, but they weren't memorable enough, and like I completely forgot about them, forgot about the plot, forgot about the characters. They didn't really stick with me. And the last tier is I want this erased from my memory.
Obliviate.
Like I said, I feel like I had a pretty good reading year. Like, I don't really think I gave that many books this year like 1-star rating. The books on this tier may also be like just books that I just completely hated. Like the whole time I was reading them, I hated it. They like damaged me, they completely broke me, and I just didn't like them. And simply, I just want them erased from my memory. I just want to forget that I read them. I never want anyone to mention them again to me. Let's start tier ranking. Okay, so the first book on here is 5 Feet Apart. I had watched the movie before reading the book, and I really loved that movie. It made me cry, like ugly cry. So I wanted to read the book, and I did, and I think I liked it more than the movie. I mean, books are always better. I expected that, but it had dual POV. I loved reading Will's POV and of course Stella. It's a sad love story, but I still loved reading about their story. It's basically about Stella and Will, and they are diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. So I don't want to say anything wrong, so you can look it up if you want to know more about that illness. But basically, cystic fibrosis patients have to stay 6 feet apart from one another, because like then it can spread bacteria and germs, and it can just make it worse for both people in that situation. So the movie is called 5 Feet Apart because like Stella kind of changes the rules a bit. I'm gonna put this book though in not my fave, but would still recommend. It's like a mid-tier book for me. I don't really love it, but I didn't hate it. Okay, the next book on here is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I think this is part of the series, but I never read like the sequel or the other books in the series, and that is because I didn't really end up liking it. Yeah, I think I rated this like 2 stars. Like I didn't really hate this book, but the characters definitely didn't stick with me, and so I think I'm gonna put it in I forgot I read this. Okay, so this book follows Audrey Rose in like the late 1800s, I think, in London. And then she's an apprentice in her uncle's forensic laboratory, and then murders like start happening in London. Women are getting killed, and then she, along with Thomas Cresswell, kind of go on like this mission to find who the killer is. But I think like I rated this book 2 stars because like I don't know, I think I just found it like very boring. It was very slow for me. Like I found myself just like putting it down. Like, it wasn't keeping my attention, you know? Like I felt like the author could have done so much more, considering it is like a murder mystery. Like I don't know, it could have been more intense. Like the only reason I didn't give this book like a 1-star rating was because of Thomas Cresswell. I kind of liked him a lot. But I mean, to be honest, I also liked Audrey Rose. She was like giving girl boss all throughout the book, but the main reason was because of Thomas. But like it wasn't enough to make me keep reading like the other books in the series. So it's not a book that I'll think about. I mean, I think immediately when I finished reading the book, completely forgot about it, and have not been thinking about it ever since. So listen, the next book on here, I will keep my mouth shut because I have ranted about this book so many times in a lot of my videos. I'm just gonna say, if you know, you know, okay? You know how I feel about Emily Henry. If you watch my other videos, favorite author ever, her books never disappoint, and I will always, like, forever till the end of time, keep reading her books. This book specifically, out of all her books, I've said this before, it's my favorite one. That's Book Lovers. That book like means everything to me and like more. I adore it, okay? And I will till the end of time. And the characters, ever since, have been in the back of my mind 24/7. Like Charlie Lastra. Oh my gosh, that man, like, he's the reason I fear I will never find love, because like he's my standard, he's the blueprint. And so I think obviously you see what's coming. Of course I have to put this book in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die tier. Basically it's about Nora and Charlie. Charlie is a book editor, Nora is a literary agent, and it's a rivals to lovers trope. They like go to the small town, bump into each other there. They have met before, but it hasn't gone great, and so they're not too happy, especially when both like didn't expect the other to be there, and it just goes on from there. But please read it if you haven't yet, okay? I'm begging you. Okay, next book on here is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I also ranted about this book in my top 10 books of 2023 video, okay? So again, not gonna say much, but I love this book so much. I adore it. It's one of my favorite comfort books ever. Like, it just feels like that, like just so cozy, like a warm hug. These characters have also like stuck with me ever since I read this book. Will be in the back of my mind till the end of time. It's basically about Elliot and Macy. They also both love books. It's a childhood friends to lovers trope, but it's also a second chance romance. It has a past and present timeline. Christina and Lauren, wow. Chef's kiss, honestly, I don't know how they did it, but characters mean everything to me. They're so special to me. Elliot, like, also one of my favorite book boyfriends ever. He's just like the sweetest ever. Again, you probably also see this coming, but I of course have to put this book in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die tier. There's no other place for it. Okay, we completely went like from here to here, because this next book, The Light We Lost, I'm gonna put it in the I want this erased from my memory tier. I have to put it there because I truly want to forget I read that book. It's not that I really hated it. I mean, I did. I feel like I wasted my time reading that book. I'm not even gonna like keep talking about that book because I just get so mad when I think about that book. When I think about like how it ended, never ever want to hear about that book again. Completely and absolutely broke me and shattered me, but like in the most horrible way. Like, I just cannot bring myself to think about it. I can't. Okay, next we have Family of Liars by E. Lockhart. This is kind of like the prequel to We Were Liars. Read that book last year. Liked it enough that I wanted to read the prequel, and actually I like the prequel better. I think I'm gonna put it in not my fave, but would still recommend. I don't really know like how to explain it, because if you haven't read We Were Liars, you'll be pretty much lost. Like, it's a prequel and it kind of tells the story of like the family of the main characters of We Were Liars. Yeah, I just liked it more actually. Like, I found the story of the family of the liars like that much more interesting. I was really intrigued. Didn't love it, but I think I rated it 3 stars. Yeah, it's like a mid-tier book for me. So okay, next is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This is like a fantasy book. It kind of had like a romance subplot, but like it's barely there. The only thing I remember about this book truly is that it's about a hotel that flies or like travels in time, something like that. I didn't love it. Like, I felt like it was really slow, like right until the end where like things picked up, but I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, so I'm gonna put it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. The next book on here is Beach Read by none other than Miss Emily Henry. Again, not gonna go on a rant, okay, because I always do when it comes to Emily Henry books. I love Gus and January so much. Again, they're everything to me. This book is everything to me. For that reason, I'm obviously going to put it in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die. It's a rivals to lovers trope as well. Like I said, focuses on January and Gus. They're kind of going through a writer's block. Gus writes literary fiction and January writes best-selling romance. And they were college rivals, but they're spending like a couple months together beside each other in like beach houses. They're not too happy about that, but they kind of like strike a deal to write each other's genre, to try to help each other out with that writer's block, and like the first to sell the book kind of wins the deal. And yeah, it just goes on from there. They spend a lot of time together because they go on like these little dates. There's so many quotes in this book that I just freaking love so much. Gus is also one of my favorite book boyfriends ever. That man, how I wish he wasn't fictional, and I think about them all the time. Okay, next is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This book is just like so cute, so sweet. It's like a YA romance. It's in high school. I would 100% recommend it, and I love it so much. It's a kind of like childhood friends to lovers trope, but mostly rivals to lovers trope, but like not even rivals. The characters in this book, Liz and Wes kind of like was always the boy that would tease her. He would like annoy her, but like that's only because he liked her. But basically they like strike a deal as well. Wes like has to help Liz get attention from a boy that came back to town, and Liz has a crush on him and wants him to take her or to ask her to prom. So the deal is Wes will help her achieve that if she gives him the parking spot because like they've been fighting about that, because I think, yeah, they live like next to each other. So, but like this whole book I was screaming at Liz like, girl, like don't you see what's right in front of you? And like Wes the whole time, like it was just so obvious to everyone except Liz apparently. And I think I'll put this book in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, next book on here is The Off Limits Rule by, I think, Sarah Adams. This book was cute, it was sweet, but I don't know, like I didn't love it. I think honestly I'm gonna put it in the I forgot I read this tier because I think I did rate this like 2 stars. It just wasn't it for me. It's basically like the best friend of the older brother. That's what I kind of like hated about the book. Like I just found it so immature. Like they basically hide the fact that they're dating and then at first like have feelings for each other just because like the older brother, like, he wouldn't like that. And I was just like you're both adults. Like your older brother doesn't have a say in who you date. It was just really cringy at times and I didn't like it, but I didn't completely hate it. So okay, next is The Upside of Falling. I think that's a fake dating trope. Yeah, I think I also rated this 2 stars, so I'm gonna put it in the I forgot I read this tier as well because yeah, I can't even remember the name of the characters. It's a YA, it's set in high school. It was really cringy, didn't like it, but like didn't necessarily like really hate it. So again, that's why it's not going in the bottom tier. Okay, the next book is The Match, another Sarah Adams book. I actually thought I wasn't gonna love this book as much as I did because it's just like a very cute short romance book, but I actually like ended up liking it like a lot. I think it's like a 3.5 for me. What was really interesting is that I loved the representation of epilepsy. So the woman has epilepsy and she basically, I think, works in like this center for service dogs. She gets this appointment for this little girl that has epilepsy and she thinks the father set that appointment, but it was actually the little girl. So the father wasn't aware of that at all and he's not like really convinced by that. Like he doesn't think it will work and he doesn't like the idea, but then she convinces him to do it and that's when they start spending time together. I love the relationship between them. It was really cute and sweet. Would 100% recommend it, but not my fave. Okay, the next book on here is The Infinity Between Us. It's a summer romance and a second chance romance. I think it may have a past and present timeline. It kind of reminds me of Love in Other Words, but like much more summery. But I really like this book. The characters like haven't really stuck with me. Like I haven't really thought about them since I read that book. I also appreciated like the fact that it mentioned other very serious topics like loss, found family, and friendship. But I think I'm gonna put it in giggling and kicking my feet. Yeah. Okay, next book on here is Good For You. It's also a summer romance and it's brother's best friend. Couldn't connect to the characters really much, but I think I give it like 3.5 stars, so I'm gonna put it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. Okay, the next book on here is The Summer Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This book, I just remember it being like really fun. It's a summer romance. It's kind of like rivals to lovers trope. It has a lot of Taylor Swift references, which I loved. The banter was really cute. I'm gonna put this in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, next we have The Ohana Cottage. This is also a summer romance. I don't like really remember much about it, to be honest, but it was cute. Didn't love it so much, didn't really connect to the characters, but I think I give this 3 stars, so I'm gonna put it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. Okay, next we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Not gonna go on an Emily Henry rant, even though like I have like the urge to do so. I'm gonna control myself. This book was released this year and I mean, everyone went crazy about it, but like, I don't blame them. She's just so amazing. This book is perfection. It also deserved the love that it received. This one like just hits different as well. It especially deals with topics like found family and friendship and how important those relationships are, and that kind of just like hit home for me. The characters have stuck with me. They will till the end of time. So for that reason, I will put it in the will be thinking about it till the day I die tier. Okay, next book on here is 214 Palmer Street. This is a thriller book. I know that, but I don't remember much of it. I think I'm actually going to put this in the I forgot I read this tier because I did. I forgot the plot, so I can't really tell you much about it. But just by that, just know that probably I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This I can tell you about, okay? This is going in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die tier because this is a thriller book, but it also has kind of like a romance subplot, and this book just like really stuck with me. Wow, it's a really, really intense thriller. You won't be able to put it down. You'll be on the edge of your seat all throughout this book, and especially like during the end, so many plot twists, you won't see them coming. I'm actually gonna rank the sequel, and it's Good Girl Bad Blood. I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. It was really good. I just didn't love it as much as I did the first one. Like, I guess the plot twists weren't like as crazy or as insane, but I still loved it so much. We did get a lot more of Pip and Robbie in that book, a lot more banter, and I just love them so much. Okay, next we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a historical fiction book, but it's also a coming of age book set in the 70s, 80s, one of those two, and it's just really good. These characters will definitely stick with me, I think, for pretty much a long time, but there were some like minor things I didn't like about this book, but this was adapted into a TV show, and I absolutely loved that show so much. I actually think it made me love the book even more. Like, you can see they put a lot of hard work into the show. I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is dual POV. It's like got everything that I love in a book, okay? It's small town and it's slow burn. This book made me cry, it made me scream, it made me laugh, and I just fell in love with it so much. It's definitely going in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die. Definitely. Like, I am 100% sure. I cannot tell you enough how much I love this book. It was just like so unique. It was perfection. It's honestly everything to me. Archer, that man is so sweet. I love him so much. Okay, next we have By a Thread by Lucy Score. This is a hard one. It's a complicated one. I have mixed feelings about this book. It's a workplace romance. It's also like rivals to lovers. I didn't feel like it needed to be that long. For that reason, I felt like it dragged on for most of the book, but also mostly I just didn't feel an emotional connection with the characters. Like, I just felt like it really focused on the physical connection a lot, and so that's why I didn't root for them, didn't care for them. Nevertheless, I didn't completely hate it, so I think I'm gonna put it in the not my fave but would still recommend tier. Okay, I'm really excited about this next book. It's Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I can't help but smile when I think about that trilogy in general. It's a fantasy, but it also has romance. It's basically about Evangeline Fox. The first book focuses like her making a deal with a fate, which that's where Jack's Prince of Hearts comes in. A lot of adventures, so many things happen. First book though, it's mainly focused on like world building, so it was kind of like hard to get into it, but once I did, I was hooked. I was really intrigued. I loved it so much. Since I read the first book, I knew that I was going to continue the series, that I was going to end up loving it, and I did. I adore it, actually. Jax. One of my favorite book boyfriends ever. He is just everything to me, despite everything I said. I'm going to put Once Upon a Broken Heart in Giggling and Kicking My Feet. I knew that because of this book, I was going to give like 5-star rating to the second book, because getting into the second book, I already knew the characters and the world, and I was right. Like, it was so much easier to get into it. Also, just because it jumped straight into things. It had so much more many adventures. It was so intense, so fast-paced. I went through a roller coaster of emotions, but nevertheless, I don't know, there's just something about it that's become my favorite book in the whole trilogy. I mean, I also enjoyed, of course, and appreciated the fact that we had so much more banter between Jax and Evangeline, and I was just like giggling and kicking my feet the whole time. I'm actually gonna put The Ballad of Never After in We'll Be Thinking About It Till the Day I Die, and then might as well also put A Curse for True Love in that tier as well, because even though I just said The Ballad of Never After is my favorite book out of the whole series, I also just really like can't decide, because like really A Curse for True Love is like really close to also taking like that top first place, because I also love that book so much. I loved the ending. It was just everything and more. We got so many POVs in that book, and even though like I wish we got more of Evangeline and Jax, just especially Jax individually, I still loved it so much. That whole series, the characters will always be so special to me. Okay, next we have The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han. This was actually a reread, but still gonna include it. Conrad Gurley, Till the Day I Die, obviously. Just putting that out there, because you had to know. They're YA, and I can admit some parts are like pretty cringy, but I still love them so much. They will always mean so much to me. You should really read them and then watch the show if you haven't. The first book, I'm gonna put it in the Giggling and Kicking My Feet tier. It's Not Summer Without You. I actually rated it lower than that, 3.5 stars, but I'm still gonna put it in the Giggling and Kicking My Feet tier. And the third book, this I did give 5 stars to, so I'm gonna put it in the We'll Be Thinking About It Till the Day I Die tier. Okay, then we have the Hunger Games trilogy, which, believe it or not, I did read for the first time this year. I did a reading vlog on it. I have loved these movies for most of my life. They're everything to me. I love these characters so much, but I don't know why. I never thought about reading the books, and I just never did. I actually like the books better, a lot more. I mean, again, books are always better, but just because they just included so many quotes that I wish were included in the movies, so many scenes too, and just like reading it from Katniss's POV, I mean, I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved the whole trilogy. The first book, The Hunger Games. I gave this 4 stars, so I'm going to put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Catching Fire. I mean, I expected this, but I give it 5 stars. I'll be putting it thank you very much in the will be thinking about it till the day I die tier. And the last one, gotta say, it kind of disappointed me a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in giggling and kicking my feet, but just know that their book is like really close for it to be a 5 star for me. Okay, next book is Just Don't Fall by Emma St. Clair. So this takes place in the fall. It's a hockey romance. It's brother's best friend. The main reason why I love this book so much is because it was giving me so much Gilmore Girls vibes. I loved Logan so much in this book because he was just so sweet. He remembered so many small details about her, but like that are also like very important, obviously, and I love that. And I was giggling and kicking my feet the whole time. I had so much fun and I just really loved it. Oh, and it's also dual POV, so I mean, why shouldn't you read this book? I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet. Okay, next, Awkward in October. This book was a disappointment. I just thought like this book was like so boring and hard to get into, very slow, and like I didn't really connect to the characters so much. And then also like the main character, well, female main character, I just thought like she was like immature and she like said a lot of cringy things and I was getting annoyed. But one reason why I didn't get this book a 1-star rating was because of the male main character. I just remember like he gave me Luke Dane vibes. I'm honestly gonna put this book in the I forgot I read this tier. Okay, next book on here is Autumn Sky. This book is a billionaire romance, also fake dating. I love this book. It was just cute, fun. We live, laugh, love with this book. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, next we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a thriller book. It's set in the winter and it's told in different points of views. It kind of just like confuses you a lot. Like that's how I felt. I felt very confused for most of the book, but I felt like that's also what kept me intrigued, and like you never really know who to trust. And the ending, like I felt like it was just like really abrupt. I don't know if I liked it. So I think I'm actually gonna put this in not my fave, but would still recommend. Okay, next we have The Housemate by Freida McFadden. This is also a thriller book. This whole book just kind of like takes you on a journey. It was really fun to read, but it was insane. The plot twist at the end, crazy. Like I didn't expect it, didn't see it coming, because it kind of just like makes you believe one thing and then it kind of just like completely twists it around. I'm gonna put it in the we'll be thinking about it till the day I die tier. But the sequel, and I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Then we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this book focuses on basically the story of Coriolanus Snow, how he became President Snow, his like journey to evilness. This is, you could say, a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, but I think of it as kind of like a standalone, like it's kind of like a spin-off of one of the main characters from this whole trilogy, which again is President Snow. But it's really interesting because you kind of see how he became the person we know like in the Hunger Games trilogy, and it's just so, at least for me, like so intriguing to know like what made him become that person, and you really like get to find that out in this book. But it's kind of like also a love story. He ends up being her mentor for the 10th Hunger Games. And this was also really interesting because you get to know who came up with the idea of the Hunger Games and just like the start of the Hunger Games in general, because even though it was the 10th Hunger Games, it was very early on. I loved it so much, especially after watching the movie. So I'm gonna put this book in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, the next book is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's a complicated but beautiful story. I did love the book and I gave it 4 stars, I think. So I'm gonna put this book in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. Okay, then we have No Exit by Taylor Adams. It's a thriller book. It's set in the winter time, and when I first read this premise, like it was really interesting to me and it didn't let me down, to be honest. I really loved the book. It was really fast paced. I think I binged it. It kept me on my toes. Like the plot twists, they were pretty obvious, but some I didn't see coming. Not the best thriller I've ever read, but it was definitely like good and I would still recommend it. For that reason, I'm gonna put it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. Okay, then we have My Life with the Vulture Boys. This series, like I heard about it because a friend said like, oh my gosh, you need to watch this show. It just came out on Netflix. It's like The Summer I Turned Pretty, but like cowboy version. And I was like, I don't need to hear anything more. But then one of my book besties told me the show was based on a book. And I was like, I'm so glad you said that to me before I started watching the show, because you know me, I always have to read the book first, and so I did before I watched the show, and I loved it. I mean, I'm a sucker for like love triangles and especially older brothers in love triangles, and so, you know, I'm a Cole girly. I'm Team Cole, and I'm so excited that actually the show is going to be coming out with a season 2, even though there was never a sequel to this book. But I am so glad they're going with that decision, because I honestly didn't like the ending. I'm gonna actually leave this in that mid tier. Okay, next 2 books are holiday romances. Okay, the first one is Love Light Farms. This was just a really cute, short holiday romance. There's nothing else that I can say. It's fake dating, but it's with her best friend. And Luca is just the sweetest ever. That man. Ugh. I just love him so much. He like quickly just like snuck his way into my heart. It really got me into the holiday spirit. 100% would recommend it, so I'm gonna put it in the giggling and kicking my feet tier. And the next one, holiday romance, didn't love it as much. I have a whole thing with this book. You can go watch that reading vlog. It really disappointed me because I couldn't get into this book. I kept putting it down. I kept getting distracted. It was so slow, so boring. I didn't connect to the characters at all. And like, I didn't hate it, but I just definitely didn't love it. And I wasn't feeling the Christmas vibes either. Like, it didn't get me into the holiday spirit at all. But nevertheless, actually, I'm gonna put it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. Okay, and finally, the last book of this video, It's Never Lie by Freda McFadden. It kind of let me down a little bit. I don't know, I expected more of it. Like, the plot twist, like, I don't know, they didn't really do it for me. Just didn't really like surprise me. It wasn't like that intense. So I'm gonna rate it in the not my fave, but would still recommend. Anyways, guys, that means we've reached the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I think I had a pretty good reading year. I'm really proud of myself for the many books that I read this year. Found some books that I'll love forever, so I'm happy about that. And I guess that's all I have to say. See you guys in the next video. Bye!